Biden is going to Wilmington, Delaware today as he wraps up an intense week. In just the past few days, House Republicans have opened an impeachment inquiry. His son was indicted on gun charges, and while he has billed himself as the pro-union president, Biden has yet to receive an endorsement from the United Auto Workers. We're on strike now. So for more analysis, I want to bring in a CBS News political contributor, Etienne, as well as Republican strategist and CBS News political analyst, Leslie Sanchez. Nice to see you guys, ladies. Let us get right into it. Leslie, and I'm going to start with you and Hunter Biden's legal challenges. You know, the president has been, mum about his relationship with his son, other than to say that he loves him. And the White House is treating this as a private family matter. But I wonder how long the president can do this for. Is it going to become increasingly challenging when we start to hear about the possible defense for Hunter Biden, talking about Second Amendment rights, talking about whether or not, that one question about drug users owning guns is a violation of his rights? It seems like what we're going to hear from his son's defense is going to kind of run contrary to something that the president has been fighting for his entire political career, which are more restrictions and more sort of controls on guns.
And Marie, you're 100% correct. I mean, part of what people anticipate in the Hunter Biden defense is a full-throated contradiction from his father's policies. You have that issue. You have the compounding issue that this is likely not going to be the first of a series of kind of incriminating factors. You still have the influence peddling, the whistleblower investigations that are still going. So this could be one of many areas that Hunter Biden's going to be exposed to. And finally, you also have the president consistently saying, when he was asked this summer, through his spokesperson, would he pardon his own son? And it was a very quick no. So what I'm saying is that there's going to be a series of court trials unless he pleads, guilty and takes some sort of charges. Or it's hard to say where this is going to go. But I think what we do know politically, it's a very damaging situation for the White House to have to deal with, especially when they wanted to draw a starker contrast to the former president, Donald Trump.
Actually, I want to get your reaction, but I just want to ask you, Leslie, quickly, do Republican voters even care about this?
100%. I think if you look at Republican voters, they've been asking since the whistleblowers, IRS whistleblowers came out, where are the investigations? There was pressure on the former Attorney General Barr into the Trump administration. Why wasn't more being done to investigate the Bidens and these relationships? And they want to see more of this, not less.
So Ashley, can the president sort of continue to put this in, the family box, not connected to his political ambitions and, his politics? How can the president move forward without addressing this head on?
I think he has addressed it head on. I mean, and with all due respect to Leslie, I love her to death, but there's no contradiction here. The president has said that no one's above the law, and that applies to his son. So there's been 5 years of investigating Hunter Biden. He did not stop the investigation from the Trump administration. President Biden continued the investigation into his son under the current DOJ. In fact, that's where the indictment's coming from. So I don't see any contradiction here. He's been very consistent that no one is above the law, not even his own son, and his son should be held accountable. So, I agree with Leslie in that this will continue to be an issue for the White House and for the president, primarily because Republicans will continue to use this issue to draw this false equivalency between the Bidens and the Trump and his issues. So, yeah, they will continue to weaponize it and use it. But the president has been consistent that no one is above the law, not even his own son.
So I want to bring up another topic that at least the two leading candidates seem to be President Biden and former President Trump want to ignore. Age. It's coming up over and over again over the last few weeks. Of course, we've had Mitch McConnell with his issues. We've had a couple of op-eds really saying that perhaps this is a time for Biden to step away. And then Mitt Romney is not running for re-election. And one of the things that he cited was his age. I want to play some of the sound.
I think it would be a great thing if both President Biden and former President Trump were to stand aside and let their respective party pick someone in the next generation.
You know, there's also been several polls that suggest that voters are concerned about the age of both President Biden and Trump. It seems like, President Biden perhaps may be dealing with this a little bit more than Donald Trump, but they're still basically 3 years apart. They're in the same age group. Is this something that these two leading candidates can continue to ignore? I'll ask you first, Ashley.
Yeah, I mean, all due respect, I think there's too much obsession about this issue of age. I mean, if I'm an employer, which the American people are employer of the president, and Joe Biden is performing the way that he is, creating 13 million jobs, the record low unemployment, manufacturing coming back, I wouldn't fire the guy. Here's a point that I think that the media and everyone keeps missing about what Mitt Romney said, which is the greatest threat to American democracy and our ability to compete in the world. And that there's a growing faction within the Republican Party that does not believe in the Constitution. And when that, and how does that materialize in real life? That shows up with, a baseless impeachment inquiry into the president. It shows up with dysfunction in the House. They can't pass spending bills. They're threatening a government shutdown, which cost, the last time we did this was Trump shutdown. It cost $11 billion to the American people and the American economy. That's what it looks like when you no longer believe in the Constitution, when you don't believe in the very foundation of our country. That's the issue we should be talking about on TV constantly, which is how do we mend these two sides? How do we bring these two sides together? What do we do with those who don't believe in the very fabric of the American of the American experiment and the American ideals?
So do you agree, Leslie, is age just a distraction?
I think we're kind of losing the point a little bit. I appreciate everything that Ashley's saying. I think Ashley would agree with me that we have both senators as well as individuals, like we're talking about the top of our presidential tickets, who are in a generation that does not, a lot of voters, I think on both sides of the aisle, feel that they are not in touch and prepared for what comes next in terms of economic and national security, foreign threats to the U.S. That's, I think, number one. And I do respect what Senator Romney's doing in terms of leading by example. He fundamentally believes this, and he's taking action. That's the hardest thing for a politician to do, is step away when they are at the top of their game. He worked very hard to get to that position, and he could very most likely win re-election. So why would he do it? He really believes that. He's very principled at that. But what he's talking about, where Ashley's talking about the Constitution, reflect, I would say that there is not a lane for a Mitt Romney right now in the current Republican Party. It's a much more populist party. It's much more, it's a Donald Trump party, whether you agree with that or not, but versus the older establishment type of GOP. That's really where I grew up. So there is that disconnect, and it is changing. But I think that there's opportunity for new and different, distinct types of leadership, and he's making room for that.
All right, Ashley and Leslie, great seeing you guys. Have a good weekend.
Thank you.